Hi everyone, this is the kubeadm Adoption Working Group. Today is the 12th of September and we're just getting started and seeing what's on the agenda. Currently we have, which is really cool, we have KubeSpray in the process of adopting kubeadm, and I'm excited to hear if you faced any blockers or similar, how you think it went or is going. Can you please, I know you said a minute ago a short recap, but can you reiterate?
Yeah, so there's a pull request out there currently for KubeSpray to enable kubeadm integration. We've got it currently set up as a configurable option of whether or not you want to enable kubeadm or just go with the traditional KubeSpray route. Generally, everything, I think we've had a pretty good discussion on there as far as how things got implemented. It looks like there's a couple issues that that you and Matt have gone back and forth on that probably will translate into issues for like feature requests, but generally it seems like things went in pretty smoothly.
Yeah, that's really cool. And then we have the PR as well. Yeah, so I mean, if I remember correctly, the thing that Matt wanted to customize was the service the DNS IP, right?
Yeah, I think that was one of them.
And then it was, yeah, I can't remember it now, but anyway, yeah, I mean that's cool to see that it worked well. I mean the PR came up some days ago and seems to be ready to merge nearly already. Yeah, now I found it. Yeah, it was about mounting extra directories into the control plane images, containers, and yeah, that's a feature we want to have in 1.9. An option in the kubeadm configuration API that you can add your own host path volume to the spec. How about others? Should we, earlier in the meetings, we've gone like in alphabetical order, just introducing ourselves. I mean, it's a pretty small group, and just what we're interested in and what we want to see as outcome from this group. If you don't mind, we could do that today as well. What do you think?
Sounds good, Lucas. It feels like you're talking to an empty.
Yeah.
I'll just start. I'm not alphabetical order. My name is Matt. I work for Heptio. We have a thing called the AWS Quick Start that uses kubeadm right now, but I'm mostly interested in like unlocking security and sort of secure introduction of new nodes to the control plane, the bootstrapping process, making sure that is generic enough to be pluggable if you have an environment like a cloud provider that has its own source of identity, and it's sort of making sure that kubeadm can work nicely in all those environments.
Cool. Who's up next?
I can go next. My name is Patrick. I work for Samsung, and we have a installer called Kraken, installs Kubernetes, and I'm just trying to get up to speed and make sure that when we're ready to start using kubeadm, it's a smooth process for us. So mostly I'm here just paying attention to what's going on, and going to pay a whole lot of attention to the KubeSpray guys and see how that PR rolls out for them. So thank you for going first.
Hey, I'll say hi next. My name is Stephen Augustus. I'm a field engineer at CoreOS. Just decided to check out this kubeadm situation. I'm always curious about different ways of installing Kubernetes and the kind of the different approaches on companies. So, hey.
Hi.
I'm Brad. I work on KubeSpray. Been working on it for, I don't know, almost about a year now, and it's set advanceable scripts to get Kubernetes deployed, and it's been a pretty good run.
Yeah, what was exciting to see in that PR was that the deployment time went down from 25, 26 something minutes to 9 or so. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Hi, Patrick. Galbraith.
Hi there. I've been kind of busy, and I apologize not having been involved in taking on something I meant to take on, but the summer turned into more than I thought. But I'm back in the saddle now.
Okay, and you're working for?
Dyn Oracle. So we have quite a few things going on here. So
yeah, what are you most interested in seeing, like in the kubeadm era?
What kind of deployments it can do. Also contributing to it. You know, as I mentioned before, I like all things Kubernetes, so I'm excited to see the progress on it. You know, having used Kubernetes for a number of years, having built clusters using Ansible and Vagrant, and so many painful. I once did one with Fleet, and it was it was interesting. So now you have something that works so well that just right out of the box, you don't have to, you know, pull your hair out trying to get, you know, Sky DNS working or anything like that. It's those days have long since passed.
Yeah, personally, my first cluster was first compiling binaries on a Raspberry Pi, then trying to get those to work somehow together. And it took me 3-4 months to get the cluster running also. Not actively working on it, of course, but anyway, it was in the 0.17 releases or so. Today it's much better indeed. How about others? Alexander?
Hey, I'm Alexander Kanievsky. I work in Intel, in Open Source Technology Center. My overall interest of kubeadm and actually our tools is how people are actually deploying a Kubernetes cluster on bare metals, what problems we're having, and, well, in general, I want to improve that situation.
Cool. And are Chad and/or Craig Tracy here?
Hey, I'm Chad Swinson. I work for AT&T. We've been using and contributing to KubeSpray for about a year and a half now. Been a big fan of kubeadm ever since, well, in Cluster Lifecycle ever since Joe first wrote the proposal, like I think on the plane back from DockerCon 2016. So I've been lurking in the background. So I'm really excited we're finally to the point where we can get it in the KubeSpray for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, cool. So, and Craig Tracy, I think it is, right?
Yes. Sorry, I've been having flaky internet today. Yeah, Craig Tracy, working for Heptio as of last week, and anxious to start helping more with kubeadm, particularly interested in the HA pieces. So I will be attending the meeting tomorrow as well. Do we, incidentally, on those meetings, do we have those posted anywhere? Or I guess it's in the mailing list. I missed that somehow.
Some of them you'll get invited to automatically if you join the mailing list because the mailing list is invited.
Yeah, I have them. I have a strange email account on the mailing list. I should just change that up. But that's probably what it is.
Yeah, and I recently added to the community repo a description of like this working group. Let me see if I can find the link to that one. Basically says when our meeting, etc., and will hopefully include some useful information in the future. There we go, the chat, and I'll also paste it on.
Cool. Thanks, Lucas.
There we go. Official docs. So yeah, nice to see everyone. And yeah, so if I do a quick 1.8 recap of what's new since 1.7, there has been a couple or many, I'd say, improvements and changes to kubeadm since 1.7. One of the biggest features are kubeadm upgrades with the kubeadm upgrade command, and in this context, what's really interesting is kubeadm phase, the kubeadm phase command. And also we have some other goodies like dry run mode, and self-hosting, which is going to be crucial for AJ, working in an alpha sense right now. And yeah, should I demo the kubeadm alpha command, alpha phase command, so you can like see a little what it looks like, and or what I'm interested in? I mean, I have different things I can share, or like.
Yeah, I think the phases would be interesting to see.
Cool. I'll do so. Let me see if I can share my screen here. So yeah, myself and Fabrizio and some other guys like Andrew have been working on the alpha phase command. Well, it's going to be called kubeadm phase. It's currently staged under the alpha subcommand to indicate that it's alpha. I have my kubeadm here. Looks like that. If I get it's compiling encoding the last SIG Cluster Lifecycle session in the background while running a Zoom meeting as well. So it might take some time, but here we go. Kubeadm alpha, and we have one subcommand there, kubeadm alpha phase. So we have in order, like what's executed first. We have certificates. So first of all, I nearly forgot that Fabrizio is currently writing up a super helpful document, which I'm pasting now. It's basically describing what kubeadm does. Document. There we go. And here in the chat as well. Let me see if I can. Well, I don't seem to be able to access the chat right now, but anyway, it's in the meeting notes. So the first thing kubeadm does is generating certs, and you can do certs all. That will, of course, generate all the certificates. You can do CA. Generate the CA certificate. Nothing special here. Just a normal CA with RSA private key. Then we have the API server serving cert for the master. And this includes a couple of SANs and like required for the API server to be accessible in the right way. Then we have the API server's kubelet client. We're securing the kubelet API. So that means only identities that are in the system master's organization, like which equals super user, can access the kubelet API. Basically, only persons with root access to the cluster can access the kubelet. And this client certificate can do so. Then we have the service count, public and private key used by the controller manager to generate service account tokens. Then we have, for API aggregation to work, we have these two, front proxy CA and front proxy client. Basically, it tells the front proxy. Well, let's not dive into that one. It's a bit like it's described in the API aggregation doc, but it originates from where the aggregator was standalone. Now it's compiled into the API server, so it's much easier. It's from 1.7 and forward. Anyway, that's implementation detail. So I could go ahead and do kubeadm face certs. Cool. And I need to be root.
It might just be me, but I think we're getting like one line of text cut off at the bottom of your screen.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not sure how I should tackle that one. Can you see this now? What I'm writing at the bottom? Not sure why.
It might be all right just to hit enter a couple times after each command so it scrolls up.
Okay. Can you see like my echo?
No. The last line I see is the sudo -s.
How to make Zoom handle this properly? Can you see it now? Anything? No. Well, I guess I have to do clear all the time to get it top level. Can you see what I'm writing now?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
Okay. Cool. Thanks for notifying. Certs. Well, first I'm gonna do kubeadm reset in case I had something running. Just in case. And as I said, it's gonna be a little bit slow since I'm encoding video in the background. Any questions like on the certificate side? Anything that seems strange?
Is there documentation around this at all?
Yeah. So that's what I was trying to link in the meeting notes. We're currently writing the kubeadm implementation doc, and this will also be ported to kubernetes.io in a couple of days or so. It's gonna deserve its own. I mean, this is a new feature in 1.8. It's gonna deserve its own page and all that, but it's gonna serve as a reference. So now I ran kubeadm alpha face certs all, and now in PKI I see my certificates, and I can do this again, and it will notice that, oh, I have already there already is valid certificates here. I'm not going to override them. It's I deponed, so it checks that, well, things are as they should be, and I'm just doing nothing right now.
Does it check to see if they're valid based on whether or not they're expired?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Lucas, if I may add, there are a set of checks that verify if the certificates are in line or valid for the cluster you are creating. So, for instance, they check for the API server address, if it is the same for the SANs, and so on. So there is a set of checks. They are all documented.
Nice.
Yeah, and also like if the API server serving cert is supposed to be signed by a CA, and it also like checks those that they are aligned. So then we have phase kubeconfig. We have 4 kubeconfig files. One for the admin, like we have to get super user credentials from somewhere in Kubernetes etcd in etsy Kubernetes admin.conf. We have one for the kubelet. Basically, the kubelet is in a crash loop until a certain stage where this kubelet.conf config file is written with credentials and an address to contact the API server. Then it starts up. It notices I can't reach an API server because it's down, but I do have some static manifests written in etsy Kubernetes manifests, and I'm launching them, which is the API server itself and the other control plane components. So yeah, that's it. Then we also have a unique credential for the controller manager and scheduler, and those, they have like the right common names and organizations required for later for RBAC integration and authorization. So the scheduler kubeconfig and the associated client cert can't do anything more than the scheduler should be able to do. And the scheduler contacts the API server securely. The insecure port isn't used at all. So now we have some more files in etsy Kubernetes. Admin conf, controller manager conf. Well, I have some some more there as well I could remove from testing. So it doesn't. Yep. So there we go.
Lucas, please could you scroll to the top of the screen again?
Sorry. There we go. And that's it. Then we have, after kubeconfig, we have control plane, or depending on how you see it, etcd. And right now we only have one mode for deploying etcd, and it's locally using a static pod. And yeah, this is basically what we're doing today. We're gonna do something more fancy when we do AJ, hopefully in the next cycle. That's at least my priority next up. Now I've written this file, which looks like this. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yep, cool. And that's a really normal etcd deployment, nothing special there. Then we can go ahead to the control plane phase. And here we have 3 components. Regarding this etcd and control plane split, I've debated with Fabrizio whether they should be the same or separate. We came to the conclusion that separate is much better because we're going to do one could do etcd deployments in a bazillion of ways, but we still want to have the control plane. I mean, that's one of the main artifacts of kubeadm, is like kubeadm generates best practice for best practice control plane configuration for each Kubernetes version. So there's not going to be that many variations of that compared to how you can deploy etcd. And here we have the kube API server manifest. Always enables node and RBAC authorization, enforces those to be somewhat secure at least, turns off the insecure port always, listens by default secure port 6443, and yeah.
Question.
Yeah.
So right now this phase control plane command assumes that you have etcd cluster running locally, and if user wants to specify some external etcd cluster, which way to pass these options?
Yeah, sorry for that. I forgot to do help here. So if I specify in any of these commands, you can specify -- help, and it will show you which flags are relevant to this subcommand. So the same flags that are on kubeadm init are still present here. And I mean, if you want to customize anything, you can do so with these flags, or you can specify, for example, if you want to do external etcd, you're specifying the same config flag and pointing to a file. Make sense?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Cool. Now, so after the control plane phase, let me see if I've started now. Start kubelet, which should come up. Yeah, it's currently running. And we should see some Docker containers now. So basically now we have written the files. The file system looks like this, Kubernetes. We have the kubeconfig files here. In manifests, we have the static pods. In PKI, we have the certs. And this etc Kubernetes PKI part is configurable in the config file if you want to. It might even be as a flag.
So in theory, if we just go through all the different phases, that should get us to a fully functional Kubernetes cluster.
Yep.
Okay.
So now we can see that .ps, well, the kube API server, etcd, kube scheduler, kube controller manager are all up and running. And there is no wait command. Kubeadm init waits, of course, for the control plane to come up. But then we have mark master, and we have this basically adds the master taint and master label to the node of choice, which in this case is the Gopher, my local computer. And here we see that the Gopher has been marked with the label and taint, and this is the node role.kubernetes.io/master equals nothing. This is standard now and best practice for different clusters, and was agreed on in the 1.6 timeframe. After that, we have next up after mark master is bootstrap token. and it looks like this. We have cluster info. I mean, and the best thing with using phases is you can skip something if you want to. I mean, if you have, well, in the certificates and kubeconfig cases, if you specify something, it will just use them if valid. But in the others, it's like it will try to reconcile and apply its thing anyway. So, but you can skip them with kubeadm alpha phase. If you don't like cluster info, for example, you can't do bootstrap. You can't do like the discovery thing using the token, but you can still do everything else if you want to pass files around. Anyway, cluster info file. In this case, for the purpose of the demo here, I can use the admin conf. Let me see if I can resize this. Can you see my screen still?
Yeah.
Cool. So what if we do a cat admin conf here? Now you see the private key, but it's going to be turned, this cluster is going to be turned down in 5 minutes or so. Basically, I have the private key and client certificate here for the admin, and here is the CA cert and the endpoint to connect them. And the cluster info is basically defined, or the discovery thing is defined as just one cluster entry. And all we care about is this data and this data. And that's used for discovery later. So I can do, and what cluster info will do here is take any given kubeconfig file, extract the first cluster or an unnamed cluster, and put this in a config map that's public. This public config map is then going to be used in the Bootstrap discovery flow that Matt, Joe Beda, and myself have been working on. And this enables the use of the token so that a worker can trust the master. There we go. And I can now verify what this looks like. I'm using clear. So kubeconfig, let's see, Kubernetes admin conf. So I can now like kubectl get pods, get nodes. My node is obviously not ready because I don't have any network solution installed yet, but that's coming in a minute. kubectl kube public is the namespace where we have public information. If I do config map, cluster info, and YAML, have to clear that. So here we see what the cluster info config map looks like. We basically have a kube config here, a key just in the config map, and then this was extracted from the kube config file I linked to. More information is in the proposal, like how this exactly ties together and works. But the important part is like if you don't like the Bootstrap discovery for validation of the master from the node side, you feel free to skip this. Then you have to like pass this this data around. It's basically a workaround for not passing the CA certificate and the master endpoint around. Like one of the killer features of kubeadm is not having to do this, and this is how it's implemented. Proceeding, we have Bootstrap token. That's what it looks like. And node. And by default, so your Bootstrap token can also be used for authentication. And this is used when the node indeed trusts the master and wants to get its unique credential. It posts a certificate signing request to the API service, certificate API. The first thing we have to do here is make the node, this Bootstrap token, able to post the CSR with RBAC. This is now done so that a kubelet or like kubeadm join. Well, in 1.8, it's actually the kubelet that does this. So the kubelet asks the API server, can I get my unique credential? Here is my certificate signing request. This RBAC rule that was created here makes that possible. Then in order for kubeadm join to just work, and the user doesn't have to like go and approve this certificate signing request explicitly, we're also having an auto approve role. So basically there are two controllers in the controller manager. One which is signing the certificates, and this consumes the CA key and certificate. You can run this controller out of cluster as well if you don't like the idea of having your CA key on disk in cluster, or have some custom requirements for PKI management. But yeah, we also have this auto approve role. So now all Bootstrap tokens, when a Bootstrap token posts a CSR, it will automatically get approved. Let's create a token as well. kubeadm token. And we can do a list. We don't have any tokens. If we can create one. That's what it looks like. And then we can do it. By default, this is what it looks like by default. TTL 24 hours. Thanks, Matt. Usage is, was it authentication or auth? I think it was authentication and signing. And groups. System bootstrappers. kubeadm default node token. So this is what kubeadm is doing under the hood, kubeadm init. It creates a token that expires in 24 hours. This token can be used for both authentication to the API, and it can be used for the discovery. And it will, when it authenticates, it will authenticate as this group, System Bootstrappers kubeadm default node token. This is a new feature in 1.8 that Matt programmed. Oh, cool. We seem to have something to do here. Nice. Let me see if I don't set the group. Sounds like I think we should fix this. I think this is only for like the command, but anyway, we can create this token like by hand as well. It's just a secret. Anyway, let's proceed. This is obviously something we have to fix. Glad that I cached it now with your support. What do we more have? Upload config. in kubeadm 1.8, we have a new command called kubeadm config. Basically tells the user which. So when you do kubeadm init, it will save the configuration you used, and then when you upgrade, it's gonna like look what config did the user use to create this cluster, and then like, okay, I had a custom API server port, and and also after the upgrade, I should use this custom API server port, and that's accomplished by using this config map. So config upload, and from flags, I don't specify any. So here I could specify any kubeadm init flag. I don't do so now. Then I can do kubeadm config view, and it will show me the config map. I can also look that up. The kubeadm config that way, and you see it's pretty much the same. So this is for upgrading. Then lastly, so now we have uploaded our config. Do we have anything more? Add-ons. And Fabrizio, this was merged some days ago. I think, Fabrizio, what was it you said some minutes ago, that this command wasn't working yet? Or
I see a comment on the PR about some problem on the comment. I have to investigate it now.
Okay, let's see if it works then. I mean, this is a build from latest master or something like that. kubeadm alpha phase add-on kubedns should install kubedns if we specify the kubeconfig flag, which shouldn't be required, I guess. Oh, shoot. We have to fix that as well. It should, well, of course, create the kubedns add-on, but right now it doesn't seem to be able to. This should point to kubeconfig, this super user file automatically. It doesn't seem to be the case though. And clear. Is there anything else? You can actually run pre-flight checks. Master as well. And this complains really reasonably that my cluster is running. I mean, all the ports are in use and etc. So I can't create a new cluster now, which is, yeah. And then we should be, well, if the token command would have worked, it would have been as easy as kubeadm join token and then the master IP and port. Something that might be interesting for you is we actually have some, this is one of the few places where we have documentation in the Cobra, or at least decent documentation in the Cobra commands. But yeah, so here in the kubeadm join, you can use a file for the discovery. If you want to pass around this file with the CA cert and the master endpoint yourself. And Matt just added a new feature that you can pin when doing the discover flow. You can also pin the API server signing cert to a specific CA, or in this case, SHA-256 hash of the CA. And yeah, I mean, that's it. Then you can use different Bootstrap token. You can use different Bootstrap tokens for discovery and TLS Bootstrap as well. So if I wanted to, this is documented in the site, but if I want to join with a file, I could do cat, let's see, Kubernetes admin conf, or actually, let me see if I find it. Yeah, any questions? Shoot, whatever.
Lucas, only a note from my side. Also, all these steps are described in the design and in the design doc, all the alternatives and so on. So there is the documentation in a pretty good shape now.
Yeah, and as said, we'll also put this in Kubernetes IO. So if I do a temporary file cluster info, I can put this here. And this. So now I'm making my own discovery file. It's, as said, just a normal kubeconfig file. Can you see it now? And in this case, if I wanted, then I can pass this file around if I don't want to use the token discovery, and do kubeadm. Well, that's clear. Kubeadm join age. So discovery file. And then to this file, it goes like file path. And then what what Bootstrap token to use for the TLS discover authentication to get the identity token, and then master IP and port. So you don't have to use the token discovery if you don't want to. Any questions, comments? We've uncovered some bugs here as well, which is always cool to spot before the actual release.
No, this is good info. Thanks.
Let me see if I can stop recording in some way.